Now, I would say in 2023, it's rare that you would see a classic-styled survival horror game, but seemingly over the last couple years, that's kind of been the craze in a lot of ways, especially in the indie scene. Now, where you do get the promisings of that and a really interesting premise, you have Ghost at Dawn, the premier game from solo developer of Red and Blue Games. Ghost at Dawn is coming out really soon on October 6th, 2023. And that's going to be for roughly about 4 to 5 hours of playtime, unless you want to play more to find any extra secrets or replays, and for $29.99 US. Now, as of right now, the game is only on PC, but it does have 10 supported languages for launch, and while it's not on consoles yet, I know that's something that Brandon wants to do in the future. Now you may be wondering, why do I think this is such an interesting premise? Well, look at the game. It's got the sensibilities of an anime art style with the idea of a survival horror game, much reminiscent of the original Resident Evils. And between the black and white noir mode, as well as the low pixel count retro mode, there's plenty of ways that you can kind of tweak this experience exactly how you want, but personally I think the initial vision is exactly what I want to see. Now going off the Steam page for the game, in 1947, hard-boiled private eye Ben O'Hara is searching for a missing girl in an abandoned hotel. Investigate room by room, piece together clues, and give the living dead lead poisoning in this noir horror. Can you push through your fear and discover what became of her? And while I believe that's a really good setup all around, there's a lot more to love about the premise than meets the eye. Now, of course, being in 1947, this is post-World War II. Detective Ben O'Hara is a veteran of that war, and he deals with somewhat of a PTSD. In the opening moments of the game and the demo that you can play right now, you are contracted to find a girl named Emmy, a 13-year-old girl whose last known location was a remote resort in Seattle called the Pines Hotel. And every clue you find will reveal a new layer of horror. But in doing so, you're going to be looking at the game from cinematic cameras, meaning that there are fixed cameras and the classic tank control style, as I said, much in line with those old school Resident Evil styled games. Now, in my interview with Brandon for the Fall Damage podcast, my gaming podcast, we talked a bit about this and his approach to it. And basically, as he talked about it, what the idea I really got was that fixed camera angles work really well, but he also enjoyed playing around with the idea of, say, the camera panning from the side, almost like a movie shot in a lot of ways is how I would describe it. And while I haven't played the game in full yet, I wanted to make this video first. I really like the idea of playing with perspective in such a cool and unique ways, and there were definitely a couple of eerie shots of where, things are kind of fitting into the screen space in the background or the foreground of a certain shot that you're focusing on Ben, or you should be. But outside of the visuals, we of course have the gameplay itself. Now there is going to be intense gun combat. You don't just have to play hide and seek with the hostile spirits stalking the Pines Hotel. You can pump them full of lead and send them back to the hell from whence they came. You will find other weapons beside your trusty sidearm, as well as various upgrades. Now this is something I'm really excited to see. In my humble opinion, one of my favorite aspects of survival horror is not only the loadout that you have, but also how you can improve them throughout the course of the game. But speaking of your inventory, discovering the truth of what happened to Emmy won't be such an easy task. You'll have to search for and manage resources with limited inventory space. Detective O'Hara's sanity will be continually threatened, and he'll need to find something to take the edge off, be it prescription pills, cigarettes, or good old booze. Luckily, there's a centrally located dumbwaiter access easily accessible from every floor of the hotel, so you can store extra items you don't currently need and recall them without too much backtracking. And of course, that's pretty plain and simple. You can store something on one floor that you don't have inventory space for, and it's going to follow you to the next. Once again, from my experience, much like the save room chest from Resident Evil, except here it actually makes lore sense, which is really cool. Now for the final bit of gameplay that I wanted to talk about was the unique save and permadeath system. Detective Ben O'Hara only has a limited number of attempts to find the truth behind the disappearance of Emmy. The game autosaves for you, and if you run out of lives, that's it for our brave detective. But fret not. Many elements are randomized so that each playthrough is unique, and with the runtime being about 5 hours, to find the true ending, it will take some solid detective work and gameplay skill, meaning you're probably going to have to look in every nook and cranny and fight about every enemy. And funnily enough, you can also just walk out of the front door of the Pines Hotel at any point, end the game, and get a grade and one of multiple endings. The story is up to you. This kind of reminds me a lot of Far Cry, which is just really funny that you can go out at any time. Like, it's definitely like a huh, nope. And overall, I really love everything about the premise and so far, seemingly the execution of the game, as I've only played the demo. But look forward to a review from me on launch day of October 6th, 2023. And consider subscribing if you like these type of little update videos, final previews, and different things like that. I do all types of games, big and small, and if you want to learn more about the inspirations and get into the mind of Brandon from Blue and Red Games, then check out the other video that I'll have linked down below in the description, where I talked to him for about an hour, and it was a pretty good time. So thank you for watching, and goodbye.